Hello, happy Friday. Today is October 22nd, 2021, and I'm here in Florida at my parents' house. I've been here now for 5 days and I'm still adjusting to, Florida versus Colorado, where I moved from. And I don't know if I mentioned this or had the chance to mention this, but my reason for choosing to leave Colorado is because I would like to have surgery pretty soon. Not sure exactly when. If I were to have surgery in Colorado, I wouldn't have anyone around to help me during my recovery process. My parents could probably come out there for a while, but it would be easier if I did that here where I have immediate family. My parents are currently out of town right now, so I have the entire house to myself until they come back. But it's been okay. I lived in Jacksonville many years ago, and it's changed a lot since then. It is pretty warm here. I'm still getting used to that. At least I had the chance to experience some of fall before I left Colorado. But here, we were in the 80s today. So, yeah, the 80s at the end of October, I'm not accustomed to, nor do I like it. But yeah, it's one of the trade offs here, living here in Florida. So, yeah, but I'm here for a time. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. This is a temporary living situation, even my stay here in Florida. I really don't know exactly how long, it's going to take for me to figure things out, but I'm glad I came. It was a long drive, the trip wasn't too bad. My car, I had no issues with it, so that was great. But I packed my car to the max. I had all of my things in there. And before I packed my car, before I finished packing it, I had my things in the house and everything was spread out. So I was thinking, gee, how am I going to get all of this in my car? Luckily, it worked out. And I had some things shipped too. Those are the boxes that you see there over in the background there. But everything worked out. The boxes arrived yesterday, and I was actually impressed that nothing was damaged or any of the boxes were damaged. But anyway, I left Colorado last Thursday, or the Thursday before last now, because yesterday was Thursday, on October 14th. The original plan was to leave at 6 a.m. that morning, but yeah, I tried, but I had so many things to do that morning that I didn't actually leave until 2 p.m. And I reserved an Airbnb in Kansas City, so that's about an 8-hour drive from Denver. But driving through Kansas was kind of difficult at times because of the weather. It was kind of rainy and windy, definitely windy, but it took a while. I was still driving through Kansas even after dark, which I was trying to prevent, but that's how things worked out with that. And there was a town in Kansas that I stopped at. I can't remember the name of it, but I wasted about half an hour trying to find a restaurant that was open where I could get something to eat. It was around 9 o'clock that night, and a lot of the restaurants in that town closed at 9 a.m. exactly. And by 9 a.m., the lights were out and, everyone was gone. There were still people on the road, but most of the restaurants were closed. There was one restaurant that was open, but the line for the drive-through was too long. I knew that I would be sitting in that drive-through probably for another half hour. So I decided to leave and get back on the interstate and continue heading east on I-70. And there was another town that I stopped at. I stopped for gas and I also stopped to get something to eat, something to snack on until I made it to my Airbnb. And it was maybe, I don't know, 10 or 11 at night. Like I said, I was running way behind schedule. But I ended up getting some cashews and a drink, and that was my dinner for the night because nothing else was open. And there were two guys at the gas station talking. It was very country looking. But yeah, it worked out okay. So I continued driving. By that time, the rain had picked up more and it was raining more. So I kind of slowed down, or I had to slow down because of the weather. So finally, I made it to my Airbnb after 1 o'clock early that morning. And the first thing that I noticed after, taking a shower, how my skin felt. Because coming from Colorado, Colorado is a very dry state. You'll use moisturizer constantly there because of the dry air. But I noticed that my skin felt better and my hair felt better too, especially after applying moisturizer. So that night, I slept pretty well, but I didn't sleep long enough. I only slept for about 4.5 hours. I checked out around, I think 11 o'clock, and I had breakfast at the Waffle House that morning in Kansas City, Missouri. Or no, I'm sorry, Kansas City, Kansas. And it was a good experience. I spent about an hour there, and I was just kind of, people watching while I was waiting for my food. And the people there, they seemed different. It had that Midwest feel to it. People seemed, a little warmer. The pace was slower. The food was pretty good. And I enjoyed breakfast that morning. And from there, I was headed to Nashville, Tennessee, where I had my second Airbnb scheduled for that evening. Once again, I was running behind schedule. So I left Kansas City around 1 p.m. and it began to rain a lot on and off. I drove through, Missouri, Illinois, and Kentucky, then on to Tennessee. It was probably after midnight and I was tired from driving all day and hungry. I was so tired that I missed my exit that I was supposed to get off on to the Airbnb. So I had to drive an extra 10 miles because of that. And what I should have done, I should have just turned around and got back onto the interstate and headed in the opposite direction. But Google Maps was telling me to not get back onto the interstate and head west. So I ended up driving for, about half an hour, what seemed like forever, on several two-way streets. And I'm not really a fan of two-way streets. I remember when I lived in Atlanta, there were a lot of two-way streets in that area, and I never liked it. So at last, I made it to the Airbnb. I was staying in a town called Goodlettsville, Tennessee, which is north of Nashville. It was dark, it was wet, and windy. The wind gusts were pretty strong. And I was trying to, get everything, inside, the few things that I was taking in with me that night or that morning. And, I was so tired and it was windy and wet. And I think I heard gunshots, or what sounded like gunshots, but I think it was probably maybe the wind blowing a door that was slamming. I don't know, but I didn't stay outside to find out. I did sleep pretty well that night. The next morning, I met my host. As I was walking downstairs, I noticed that there was a guy there, and I said good morning, and I asked him, how are you? And he just said fine and turned his back. And I thought that was kind of, off-putting. If you're hosting someone and they're staying in your home, doing an Airbnb with you, paying you money, you should at least be a little nicer to them, I would think. So I took my things out to my car, thinking to myself, let's just get out of here as soon as possible. I came back for the rest of my things, and I heard someone ask, it was a female, need some help with that? I turned around and I saw a lady sitting in a chair with her feet up on the ottoman, and she was holding her cell phone. It looked like she was doing something on her phone. I don't know. And I just smiled and said, oh, no, thanks. I think I got it. I think I'm okay. She didn't really say good morning or hello, nothing like that. She did offer to help, but I don't know. It sounds like a lot of you Airbnb hosts out there could use a lesson in Hospitality Training 101. I think she was his wife. Those were the only two people that I saw there. I don't think there were any other guests staying that night. I think I was the only guest there. So I had to come back inside for one more thing. I think it was a bag of mine that I had to bring out to my car. And as I was about to open the door to walk back in the house, I asked myself, should I say goodbye to her or just get the rest of my things and leave? I decided to be the bigger person. I said goodbye and I thanked her. As I was pulling out of their driveway that morning, I noticed an American flag and a Trump flag hanging from their front porch. And there was even a picture of Donald Trump and a Trump sign in their yard. Really, there was. I should have got a picture of it, but I was just trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. I'm not calling them racist because they support Donald Trump, because there are a lot of racist Democrats too, and Republicans, and people who are part of the LGBTQ community. And even some of us are white supremacists or people of color. And if people are that way, you know, that's their problem. I can't make it my problem. As long as they're not in a position of power where they can put laws into place that affect me, then you can be racist all you want. I really don't care. That's, like I said, it's your problem, not mine. Just don't bother me and we're fine. So I stopped at the grocery store to buy some fruit, and I noticed that people were friendly. The employees there actually spoke to me, and in Colorado, I never got that. Maybe on a rare occasion, but for the most part, no, not at all. And I stopped by Crystal's for lunch and also Shipley's Donuts. I think I made a video of that too, but so I sat there in the parking lot of Publix because there was a nice view facing, I guess it was kind of like a area with trees that, you know, was nice to look at. So I stopped there and I ate and did my video. And from there, my destination was Atlanta, Georgia. I was either going to stay there for the night or drive all the way to Florida, which was about an 8-hour drive. But I was really tired from, you know, losing sleep and from driving. So I decided, okay, we'll just stay in Atlanta tonight, in the Atlanta area. So that evening, I stopped at Cracker Barrel for the first time. I had never been there before, but I heard, you know, that their food was pretty good. Their service wasn't always the greatest, but as far as, you know, food and quality, it was all there. So I stopped there, and my waitress, I can't remember her name, it started with an M, but she was a southern, you know, young girl, and very nice, very friendly. And I had dinner there, you know. There were a lot of people there. There was even a shop there where you could, you know, buy different items. But I enjoyed dinner that night, and, you know, she was telling me, oh, you're going to Florida? Because I had told her I was on my way to Florida. And she told me, oh, I'm so jealous, you know, because it's cold here. I was thinking, I said to her, is it this really cold to you? Because, you know, I'm coming from Colorado and it gets a lot colder than this there. But, yeah, I asked her about the hotels in the area because there was a Holiday Inn there that I went in there to check the rate for the night, and it was $219 at a Holiday Inn. And there was no way I was going to pay that much to stay at a Holiday Inn. So I decided to drive further south to I can't remember the town. It was somewhere north of Atlanta. But I stayed there for the night. I stayed at a pretty decent hotel, and I got a good night's rest, and by the next morning I felt a lot better. And that Monday evening I made it to Jacksonville, Florida. where I'm currently staying at my parents' house. So here I am, back in Florida for not sure how long, but honestly, right now, I feel like, how can I say this? Whatever I want the next phase of my life to be, whatever it is that I want for the next phase of my life, I can manifest that. I can make it happen. So, I'm working on doing that now. I'm still trying to settle in and figure things out, but I do feel like I'm in a better place now where I can focus more on myself and, you know, different goals that I have and where I would like to go next, what I would like to do. So, I do have an episode of my podcast that I recorded back in August that I never got a chance to finish. So, I'm going to release that maybe later on this weekend. I don't know, fingers crossed. And 9/11, the anniversary came up too, so I did an episode on that. I wanted to get that out as soon as possible. So that's out. It's been out now for quite some time, but I'm going to try to release this other episode within the next couple of days. I just have some edits to do and some add-ins or add-ons. So, yeah, it should be a good episode. But I really don't have anything else to say for today, so to all a good day and God bless.